Good morning, everybody. It's 11 o'clock. Welcome at the first Coffee with Diver webinar. This webinar is an initiative of Dimensional Insight together with its European partners, DBI, Infotool, Ixias, and Integral. This is the first in a series of weekly short webinars about the Diver platform. During these webinars, we will showcase Diver functionality that can help you in your daily work, and we will also show you new functionality that has been released recently. I'm very pleased to introduce you to Shaun Foaden. Shaun is the Managing Director of Dimensional Insight in the Netherlands. He has a passion for design, for data visualization, and while you enjoy your cup of coffee, he will introduce you to DIUX Dimensional Insights Design Kit. Shaun, the presentation can start shortly, but first some practical things. The presentation will take around 10 minutes, and afterwards there is room for questions. You can ask questions using the Q&A panel at the bottom of your screen. If there's not enough time to answer all your questions, then your local contact person will contact you afterwards to make sure your questions are answered. So it's time for the webinar now. Shaun, please take it away.
Thanks, Lieven. Okay, so a fresh coat of paint for DivePort, DIUX paint. So let's have a look and see what that looks like. DivePort is an incredibly powerful and flexible tool, and many of you use it, I'm sure will agree with that. In fact, it makes building a data portal accessible to a wide range of users. In many ways, I sort of think of it as it's PowerPoint for data portals. But like PowerPoint, you can make slides that aren't quite that aesthetically pleasing. And at the same time, you can make slides that are pretty damn elegant. And then this is the same tool with the same functionality with totally different look and feel. And this is something that also happens to DivePorts. The same tool in different hands can lead to a lot of very different results. And a lot of the data nerds who are building the DivePorts are more interested in the accuracy of the numbers than their visual display. And what tends to happen is that you get a wide range of DivePort look and feels and qualities. And in many cases, they don't do the tool justice. And this is a problem that we have recognized over the years and have now come up with what we think is a really nice solution. We call it DIUX, the Dimensional Insight User Experience. It's a comprehensive DivePort style guide, and I'm proud to be able to run through it with you today. So if you've all got your coffee, I've got mine too. Sit back for 15 minutes or so as I take you on a quick tour. So, as I said, DIUX is a complete style guide. It covers all aspects of good dashboard design. What you see here is just a selection of the pages in the DIUX reference booklet, which comes with the package. And this gives you some idea of the level of detail and thought that has gone into defining this whole DIUX package for DivePort. It's a comprehensive library of guides and templates, icons, and technical support materials designed to make it easy to get up and running with this new look for DivePort. And here, this is just a screenshot of the reference site, which should be available shortly to allow developers to access all the latest materials and keep up to date with DIUX developments. DIUX addresses all the main data visualization elements, such as basic design rules, typography, color, icons, layout, and navigation. And I'm going to run through some of these in the next couple of minutes. So let's just start briefly with design basics. Design basics are not particular to DIUX. That's universal for dashboard design, but they cover things like alignment, making sure things are all nicely aligned and that you avoid tension on the page. Hierarchy, making sure the important stuff is in the important place and it's easy to find. Top left real estate is always a good place to be in a screen monopoly game. Contrast to make it easy for users to see what you regard as important stuff. proximity, put things that need to be together, put them together. That makes it easier to find and find the data and get the message across. And finally, balance. On the right-hand side, there you see things that just sort of been thrown onto the page, and that creates all sorts of tension and makes it just more difficult to see the data. Now, these are universal rules, but the DIUX uses functionality in DivePort, as well as making it easy for users to apply these rules. And a nice example is I'll show you here. Say, for instance, you wanted to highlight this column. There's an easy way to do it with the DIUX. Is you can download from the reference manual, or it comes with the whole package that's installed on the server when you switch to it. There's a little bit of HTML code which you can copy paste and slap that into a HTML portlet. And this might be a bit subtle on the screen, but you can use this little HTML portlet aligned behind the column just to elegantly highlight and draw the user's attention to that particular column of data. So that's just a small example of how DIUX tries to solve these type of design problems in an elegant and consistent way. Typography, that's often ignored in dashboard design, but you can do a hang of a lot with font sizes, weights, font types. And yeah, this is just a screenshot from the reference manual. Just to show you that within DIUX, a lot of thought has gone into how fonts can be used to display data. And there's a whole range of use cases which have been already thought about, and fonts and styles and weights have been defined for that. Color, obviously, color is a major weapon that you have in your arsenal for making a really nice dashboard. And if I'm really honest, a lot of the color palettes that we had in that we have in DivePort haven't aged well. But I'm really pleased with this design palette, this color palette that we've come up with. It definitely brings definitely modernizes DivePort color palettes for all the users. And that's not just for this type of basic page layout, such as title bars and background colors and buttons. So it's a nice coordinated color palette. But also for icons. Icons are used extensively within DIUX to help in navigation and highlight subject areas. Perhaps most importantly, obviously, is a color palette for the charts and indicators. And here, this is a nicely balanced color palette with well thought out colors, especially also for the alerting. These are all in the skin and can be easily applied in your dashboard design. Icons. I said earlier, icons are used a lot within the DIUX to help in navigation. In the past, it's been a bit haphazard, the use of icons, but we now have this large and growing list of menu icons, which are basically navigation icons to help the user move around the portal. And alongside that, we have a whole range of 16 by 16 action icons, which are used on a page, again, to help identify areas of content and make it easier for the user to find their way around. Moving on to layout, a lot of attention has gone into layout and creating a consistent standard layout within the DIUX guidelines. A simple thing, again, linking back also to basic design rules like making for alignment, etc. The snap to grid functionality within DivePort is used extensively. This is just a screenshot of how you can activate that when you're editing a page. And the snapping to grid, 10 pixel grid, allows you to move portlets around, and they spring to this grid size, making it easier to create an elegant page. And alongside that, there's also standard spacing between elements to achieve this consistent and pleasing user experience. Again, taking use of the 10 pixel grid. Applying this consistently leads to a much more a calming user experience. It allows the data to sync. And then finally, looking at navigation. Navigation has been baked into the whole DIUX experience. Here you see just examples of the top menu icons. I'll just show you here how they are applied. Firstly, the DIUX uses the DivePort's simplified interface. And the simplified interface presents sort of menu items as labeled graphics or buttons that you can then click on to navigate to the specific portal page. This is different from the classic interface, which I think many sites still use. And that presents the menu items as horizontal tabs and vertical expandable lists in a sidebar. This looks a bit dated, the early noughts type website. And another disadvantage is that all navigation is by text only. There are no graphics to help the user move around the site. So DIUX uses the simplified interface. So it's a typical sort of home page is a collection of these menu buttons with all the main topical areas, subject areas displayed. And clicking one of those buttons takes you then down into a detail page, something like this. Now, because there's no visible sidebar, DIUX navigates by using multiple tabs on such a main content page, and that provides access to the subpages. So clicking on one of these tabs will change the display, and you can have they work as a cascade, so you can have two levels. So clicking on for instance, a current census, you can see that there are two subpages, facility and unit. For those of you that have worked with DivePort, what you're seeing here is actually it's a collection of pages, but all displayed as though it's one page. And we believe that this is definitely assists in the navigation and accessibility of the site. Clicking on a different tab, for instance, there on Shift, then you get associated subtabs. And again, this is you are guiding the user to this census information in this example, and all on one page, you can see a hang of a lot of information displayed, all in a fairly compact way. And we believe that it makes it a much more easier way to navigate through a data portal. But you shouldn't overdo things, and the guide recommends only having two levels of data cascades on a page. On the right-hand side example, there you see three levels of data, of hierarchy, and we feel that becomes then confusing for a user. So it's best to stick to the left-hand side approach, where you have a top-level menu page, and then you click down into subpages which have two levels of detail. And another recommendation from DIUX is to limit pop-ups just to one at a time. Having, like on the right-hand side, there are layers of pop-ups. It can be a performance hit, but also becomes confusing, and there's a lot of clicking backwards and clicking away before you get back down to your starting point. So you can get a feeling that DIUX is a lot cleaner, a lot more visual, and a lot easier to navigate around for a user. So how does this all come together in an actual dashboard? What do these dashboards look like? And are users or developers constrained into only being able to make one dashboard type that all looks the same? Well, not really, because they actually will be able to make sort of Amsterdam canal houses. The nice thing, the really great thing about Amsterdam canal houses is that they all look the same and they're all completely different. And I think this is what the DIUX is able to achieve as well. It doesn't cramp your creative style. And here's an example. Here's more than 50 screenshots, more than 50 dashboards which have been collected. And to me, these are sort of the dashboard equivalent of Amsterdam canal houses. You can see there's the really strong DIUX style in all of them. They're all immediately recognizable as having the DIUX style, but all of them are very different, and all of them allow for creativity for displaying data for the developer. So let's just have a look at a couple. Here's a screenshot of a typical DIUX example. You can see at the top it uses 4 tabs and with a very neat and elegant way for the quick views, which is also part of DIUX. And there you see underneath a range of displays. DIUX tends to encourage the use of these stamp type displays. We'll be talking about stamps, I think, in later webinars. But here you see a lot of information with detailed, specific information in your face, those big numbers, as well as the use of spark bars and spark lines to show trends in the data. Here's another example. And this one is, I just wanted to highlight the use of these action icons. Here you can see it's on the left-hand side, little icons just to help the user identify and differentiate the 3 bars of 3 bands of information there about enrollments, the signing icon, graduation rates, etc., with the graduation cap, and then dropout rates of students, with unfortunately a line crossed through a student, someone who has left. And here's another example. Also, again, typical DIUX, straight away, the good look and feel. This you can see here, nice use of icons in those donut charts, as well as, again, trend lines, specific information, bold and very readable, and the banding of the information to separate what content from each other. At the bottom, highlighting of those bars using the light blue instead of the light green. Just a typical example of a nice, fresh, well thought out layout. And when we see these type of dashboards made, we feel really proud with what you can do with DivePort. But I can hear some people probably saying, yeah, but we're a separate brand, and what about the branding of our website? We don't like those standard colors. Well, just as you would expect from Dimensional Insight, you can, of course, customize things, and this customization is no different from the standard skinning of DivePort portals. You need to play around in the web data folder, and you need to know what you're doing, but it's pretty straightforward. And I think for a lot of developers, it would not be an issue. Let me just show you then a couple of examples. This is the vanilla out of the box DIUX portal. Pretty recognizable from all the ones that I've been showing you so far. But now this is just customizing a few of the key elements. Title bars are different skin colors, background is different, and even the border around that sales performance menu icon is different. And you can take it even further. Here's an example where you're a totally different look and feel with no longer blues and greens, but reds and grays. And this is a fairly straightforward tweaking. We have clear guidelines as to which elements need to be tweaked to achieve this. And once you've got your own DIUX version, then you can just roll that out across all your web portals. So we feel if your customization hasn't been compromised in any way. Well, I hope you enjoyed your coffee. My coffee is now finished, and I hope you've been inspired to maybe give your own data portals a coat of DIUX paint. We feel that definitely makes a big difference, and we've got a lot of positive feedback from users who've feel they've gone from the 20th century into the 21st century with this new DIUX interface. Before I hand back to Lieven, I just want to give a shout out for next week. Next week, Debbie Lonsdale from DBI in Ireland will be up at the same time, and she'll be looking at also at DivePort and dashboard design, and she'll be demoing a range of different portlets and how powerful they are and what you can do with them. So with that, I'll hand back to you, Lieven.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shaun. Very good presentation. We have a couple of questions. First question comes in from Anna. She would like to know if there's also a dark theme.
Yes, there is. I forgot to actually highlight that, but there is, just like most smartphones have now also have a dark theme. we do have a dark background and all coordinated colors then to work with that dark theme. So there is one available.
Okay, then another question from somebody called George asking, is it easy to implement? How does that work?
Well, technically it's very straightforward. If it's just a new skin, and DivePort has always been able to take on new skin. So it's and there's a whole set of files which are then copy pasted into the web data folder. So that in that sense is very easy to implement. Being totally honest, if your website is based on the classical interface, then because you'll be switching to the simplified interface, there'll be work involved in converting your pages. So if you're already on a simplified interface, the transition is a lot easier. But also with all DivePort changes, if you have a lot of pages and and a really big portal, then you could be quite a bit of work in converting the pages to DIUX. For a new vanilla implementation, it's literally a half an hour of installing the software and the skin basically, and away you go.
Okay, thank you, Shaun. I'm mixing a couple of questions into one. Does DIUX require a measure factory, and does it also require DI-Bridge, for example?
No, you can apply it to any DivePort installation. It's not license dependent, so no, it doesn't rely on those two.
Then the final question, because we have a lot of questions that I can't answer all in this session. What size do you normally use as dashboard area to make sure that most screens see the whole dashboard without scrolling? Can you say that right?
Yeah, we tend to go for the 1920 by 1080. If that seems to be the most common size at the moment. But it's probably best to check within your company what is the most standard screen size, and then formulate the page around that.
Okay. Thank you very much. There are a couple of questions also about price. That's something that your local contacts will handle, and I will forward them to either DBI, Infotool, Ixias, or Integral. So thank you all very much for participating in this first coffee break with Diver. Our next meeting will be next week on Thursday, 14th of May at 11 o'clock Central European Time. We really hope that you've enjoyed this session, and we hope to see you next week again. Special thanks to Shaun. I think you did a great job in presenting, in creating this first webinar. This is all for today. Thank you very much, and hope to meet you all again next week.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye-bye. Enjoy your day.